So you're thinking about creating an online course, but this biggest question I often get from people is where and how should we be selling them? How do you set it all up? How much does it cost? What platform should you be using? And what other questions should you be asking yourself when it comes to choosing the right platform for you? Now, this is a really important part of that question to understand because there are so many out there. They are all very different and they all have their own very unique pros and cons. And it's important for you to understand what those pros and cons are so that you can decide if the platforms are going to work for your particular audience and your particular type of course, and of course your overall company's strategic objectives. So like any purchase and investment of your time, you need to educate yourself about what these pros, cons and functions are before you go jumping into any kind of commitment. So I'm going to just give you some heads up about what the most commonly asked ones are today. So, you're an expert in your topic. You're not an expert in online learning. So you're probably feeling a little bit lost at this point in time about where to actually start. But luckily for you, this is my sort of favorite topic, and hopefully I can shed some light on this for you. So like I said, there's loads and loads of platforms out there, and I'm only going to focus this particular lecture just on the three most commonly ones that are talked about and used at the moment. And that one is Udemy. There's another one called Fedora, which is now called Teachable. And then of course there is WordPress, WordPress being the platform that you can use to create your own online school. So here are the top questions that you really need to be asking yourself and be aware of when it comes to choosing which one you should be using. Now, I've mentioned Udemy and Fedora. Now, both of these are privately owned online schools, and they basically operate a bit like an Amazon marketplace for courses, if you like. Anyone with an internet connection can browse through all of the different courses that are hosted on the sites, and they pay online and they take your courses. Now, the platform then pays you at the moment 30 days later, because they have a 30-day money-back guarantee. It allows that 30 days to pass, make sure there's been no student refund requests, and then you get past your payments, usually through PayPal. So the schools basically get paid first. They obviously take a cut, they take a commission, and then they pay the instructors. Now I'll talk about what cuts they take a bit later on. Now, the benefits of these existing public online platforms are that you don't have to build anything. They've already been built for you, so you do not have to worry about all of that construction and fuss. Basically, you go onto the websites, you put in a username, you put in a password, you put in your email address, and bam, you have a completely ready to use school, ready to just simply upload your courses into. So you can upload videos, you can upload audios, you can upload PDFs, and also just type in text into the platform as well. It really is as simple as attaching documents to an email. They're so easy to use. Honestly, anyone who can use the internet can do it. So you don't have to worry about shopping cart integrations, you don't have to worry about upgrades to software, you don't have to worry about customer complaints and refunds and all of the heavy admin and expenses and maintenance that would come with running your own school or running your own platform. Now, WordPress, on the other hand, is something that you would use if you wanted to build your own private school and integrate it with your website. So this would be something like if you wanted to, for instance, people go to your website, there is a special login area on your website and they go into your own branded school. Now, I would say to people, unless you are very seriously running an education business, do not start with this step. I think that you need to actually have a proof of concept first. You need to have a really strong student base first before you go wasting your money. And I'm not necessarily wasting your money, but spending your money in a very high risk situation. What you really want to be doing is, first of all, testing out whether your courses are popular, whether they are designed in the right way, whether you've got students that are really interested in paying money for it, by using the free platforms first. Those free platforms are, like I say, there is no upfront costs, there is very literally zero risk really to you whatsoever, and it gives you that great opportunity to risk-free trial out whether or not your programs are working before you go and spend the big money and the tens of thousands of dollars building your own WordPress school. So that is a brief introduction as to what are the actual platforms that are there. So let's talk a little bit more about all of the other pros and cons that come with these platforms. The next question I often get is, what are the different setup and running costs? So make sure that you've investigated what you have to pay to get your courses on the platform that you're looking at, and whether they are ongoing fees, whether they are ongoing maintenance running costs, whether they're just one-off type fees and costs. So Udemy and Fedora both have completely free memberships at the basic level, making your setup costs absolutely zero if you're going to be using those platforms. Now you can run a perfectly profitable online school from these platforms without ever having to upgrade to paid memberships if you don't want to. Now I still use my Udemy school is still completely free basic membership, as is my Fedora, and I'm making a very nice passive income from my courses on there. At the moment I have no need whatsoever to upgrade. Now with the Fedora, or Teachable, I always use the old name Fedora, with the Teachable platform you can upgrade to paid memberships. They give you a lot more flexibility in terms of branding, packages you can offer your students, the different level of fees and commissions you get charged. There's a whole range here, but I'm just going to look at the basics at the moment. So if you want to stick to basic, and this is where I'd always encourage you to start, there are no costs whatsoever. However, when we're looking at WordPress, if you opt to own your own WordPress school, you must be aware of the fact that you will have some very hefty building costs. You will need a lot of time, and you'll need professional developers that really know what they're doing. You'll also have to consider ongoing maintenance costs such as e-commerce platform fees, software upgrade expenses, as well as your annual hosting fees. Now all of these fees and charges completely depend on the types of customizations you have, how many add-ons and plugins your school has, and what type of hosting and everything you're using. Honestly, to give you some idea, this could literally range from anything from a couple of $1,000s in excess of $20,000 for your setup, and then anything from $500 to $15,000 per year for maintenance and running costs, again completely depending on what it is that you've built. So look, don't let that put you off, because there are lots more pros and cons, and I'll talk some more about what some of those other ones are, but that's really to give you a good idea. And this is why when it comes to deciding which platform to use, I always say start with a free one. If you're turning over a fortune, then you may be wanting to think, hey, I could be using this to build my lists in a different way and charge more money. So let's look at some of the other questions. Next question is, what is the commission or cut that each platform is going to take from my profit and sales? So each platform has very, very different ways of making money from you and from your courses. Now at the time of writing this is now, we've actually just moved into November 2015 at the time of filming this. This can be subject to change, so do make sure that you check up on the most current situation. But I'm going to start with Udemy. So at the moment, if you make sales from your own advertising efforts, and I'll talk a bit more about that later on, but if you are promoting your courses and people are buying your courses through your own promotions and links, then you actually get to keep 97% of your sales income, which obviously is not bad at all. Like, only having to give away 3% of your sales is fantastic in my mind. If, however, the sales of your courses are made by Udemy or by their affiliates, you may actually only see yourself bringing in 5 to 15% of the sales income from your course, because they're going out and doing all the marketing for you, they're promoting it, they're getting the sale. You actually end up only taking a very minute portion of the sales. Now, to give you some idea, the majority of my sales in the first month of my course were my own promotions, and as we've gone through into my second month, I'd say now about 50% of my sales are completely organic from Udemy, and that's slowly actually increasing. So it really helps that I'm still making 97% of sales from my own promotions 50% of the time, but 50% of the time on top of that, I'm actually getting sales coming through from Udemy doing the work for me, which in my mind, is well worth it. If you keep on top of your marketing and promotions, clearly you're still going to be earning everything that you've earned yourself by doing the marketing. Now, Fedora has different commission structures depending on whether you're on the free plan or whether you're on one of the paid memberships. So the commission really does vary, but at the moment, again, November 2015, that commission they take roughly varies from absolutely nothing, 0 commission, to 10%, depending on whether you're a paid or a free user. WordPress, once it's built, is your own school. So you own it outright, and obviously that means you don't charge yourself any commission. So you're keeping 100% of the sales all of the time. Obviously, you also have to bear in mind that when it comes to WordPress, nobody's going to be marketing for you unless you've obviously gone out of your way to find your own strategic partnerships or your own affiliate scheme. So that is what commission and cuts do they take. Our next question is, what can I sell my courses for? Now, Udemy has a limit on what price you can sell your courses for. Now, that does change and it depends on your instructor status, but that is at the moment $300. So you can't sell a course for more than that. Whereas Fedora and WordPress have absolutely no limit on what you can charge. Now, this is where I say that there are various pros and cons with these different platforms, and I will talk about some of those a bit later on, but just to really touch on this, so people say to me, well, if I can only charge a maximum of $300 for my courses on Udemy, then why on earth would I use it? Well, actually, I would say you really can benefit from this. This is a really great way for you to repurpose your content and in fact make probably even more money from it. So if, for instance, you have a $500 course, what I would say to you is don't put it on Udemy for $300, because obviously you're going to be losing $200 outright. What I would recommend is that you break it down into 10 $47 courses. That means you're still actually getting your full $500 for that course, but you're getting 10 times the exposure. People are more likely to spend $47 10 times than they are to pay $500 once. You're getting people seeing you more, and repetition, as we know, is great for building that trust, like, and knowability. So actually, it really can force you to use the platform to its advantage. Now, with over 8 million users that Udemy now has, needless to say, instead of you going out and having to generate leads and give away content for free, you could be using this platform to sell your content and information in smaller chunks, but still get money and still get paid for it. So I'd say that this isn't necessarily a con if you know how to repurpose your content accordingly. Now, at the basic, like I say, at the basic level, that would be $300 on Udemy. So bear that in mind, but also bear in mind that when you use other platforms like Fedora or WordPress, when you can charge what you like for your courses, try and think about this as a bigger picture funnel as well. So for instance, you might use Udemy for your mass numbers, for your major exposure, to give away your smaller, cheaper, simpler programs for a lower price. And then hope that if you give them enough value, if you give them enough that makes them want more from you, if your content is really good, they will want more from you. You can then maybe start considering directing them to your other platforms for your higher paid products and services. So this is where you need to be looking at this from a business point of view, as well as just an online instructor or an entrepreneurial point of view. Can I charge subscription fees or set different currencies? Now, I always encourage people to look at fitness gyms here. Now, gyms make the majority of their money and their income and profits out of people who had good intentions, but then never actually use the facilities. So they make their money out of those subscriptions or memberships. And charging subscriptions can be a very profitable passive income option indeed. So think about how you might be able to do this in your business with your online courses. Now, at present, you cannot charge subscription fees in Udemy, but you can in Fedora and WordPress. Now, since the online space is open to the world, and I've already had people from over 28 countries join one of my courses in less than 2 months, there really is a significant benefit to being able to sell your course in multiple currencies. So that's where the Fedora and WordPress platforms sort of win in that sense over Udemy, who only charge in US dollars. However, being that I actually live in Australia and therefore I get paid in Australian dollars, given the current exchange rate, when I get paid in US dollars, that exchange rate works out very well for me indeed, because I'm basically getting a 30% additional profit margin on top of everything I sell, because of the exchange rate. So, you know, that's quite a good pro there. The next question we want to consider is, what rights do you have to market and advertise your courses on each platform? Now, the beautiful answer to this question simply is quite a lot. Now, Udemy and Fedora both do a significant amount of marketing for you, because after all, it's in their favor for you to make more sales. So you'll find that they do a huge amount of work for you, and that you'll see that lots of sales just come through completely organically and naturally. Now, as I said, Udemy have got, I've just found out, just over 8 million users now, which means you actually make money through just high volume sales. You can get those high volume sales without actually very much effort on your part at all. Now, although your courses often get sold for much less because they're being sold under Udemy, they take obviously a high commission, you can still make a very handsome passive income purely because of the volume that's going through. They both have great training and advice around how you can market your courses, how you can market yourself, and I'd highly encourage you to keep promoting and marketing your own courses to your own network and building a community. Now, I do actually have another course called How to Promote, Market and Sell Your Online Courses, so I highly recommend you jump on that. All of my existing students do get a discount to my other training, so please do join that course if you're looking at, after you've built your course, how to actually make money from it. But you can very easily set up your own discounted links and coupons to each of your courses so that you can run your own promotions however you like. Now, I actually recently had a look at my Google Analytics. So I set up my Udemy courses in my Google Analytics so I could see how they were working. And I actually found that 96% of my Udemy course sales were coming through Facebook. So that allowed me to know that I'm spending good time promoting it in there, talking about my course in the different groups, posting about it, doing articles and posting it on my various Facebook platforms. So that's great. However, one of the important things to know when it comes to Udemy is that they are extremely strict about you redirecting people out of their platforms. So your course is likely to be rejected if you are telling people to go to your website, for example. They also may ask you to edit your slides if you have your website or anything on them showing. But there are approved ways around this so that you can still get people to connect with you outside of the platform, which I will talk about later on. But with WordPress, obviously, you can do whatever you like because it's yours. Next question is, who owns my student data and information? You want to know this before you decide which platform is yours, because you need to be really thinking about how this fits into your wider funnel and your wider business operations and marketing. Very important question to ask, as one of the most valuable assets in any business is its customer database. So to many people, not being able to own its own database is a very big turn-off. Now, one of the things you need to know is that when it comes to Udemy, Udemy own the student database. The student signs up with them, so you do not get your students' contact details. Now, you must send emails to your customers through the Udemy platform. You also have an instructor's profile with links to your social media. It also has links to your various contact details. And you can also share with your students how they can contact you at the end of your course. Udemy, like I said, really don't like you trying to direct people out of their platform, and they are quite strict with this when they do review your course. But again, there are little ways that you can get around this, and I talk about that in my course on how to market and sell your program. So with this in mind, basically I reiterate that it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not a good platform to use. I really do see this as a great way to do lead generation, and I certainly get a huge amount of connections come through on my social media that found me through Udemy. So it really is great when it comes to seeing it as an opportunity to simply show your capability and capacity, and it does get your students coming to find you if you do a great job with your courses. So I just remind you that to build a successful business and a passive income from this platform, you really need to be repurposing your content accordingly and use it for its advantages. You know, it's a lead generation machine that pays you to get those leads. Now, I always say to people, how much do you pay per acquisition with your current customers? How many free webinars and workshops do you give away? How much free advice and free content do you put out online? Really see Udemy as a way of getting yourself exposure, capturing those leads and generating business in a way that you get paid for it, and in a way that they thank you for doing that as well. So what would you normally teach in a lead generation webinar, and make that an online course and sell it, you know, like I say, on cheap for Udemy? At the end of it, promote your other Udemy courses, tell people how they can get in touch with you, and if they got good enough value, they will hunt you down and they will buy your other services at best. And at worst, at least you just got paid for you to give yourself positive exposure. Now, with the Fedora and WordPress platforms, they do allow you to keep and own your own student data. So there are the differences with those pieces of information there. And final question that I'm going to cover today is, does it allow for personal branding or custom designs? Now, with Udemy, you cannot customize your Udemy school with your own branding. So the only domain that you can currently get is Udemy/your domain. Fedora has different membership levels, but you can customize and brand your own school from the free account. You can put up your own logo, and you can include your school name. For instance, I've got main training at ... So you can choose your own colors and logos in Fedora, and you can customize your domain completely. With WordPress, this is obviously completely built to your own specs and branding from scratch. So with WordPress, whatever you want, however you want it to look, it's completely yours to have. So just bear those different things in mind again as well. You know, how do you want your school to come across? Now, one of the rules I apply in my business is when it comes to just generic public programs, I just pop them up on Udemy. People search specifically through and for Udemy for their learning. So it's a really great place to have a captured audience. Whereas when it comes to my courses, for maybe my corporate clients, then I take them to my paid online Fedora school. It's completely has the ability for you to make those courses private. So they have a unique URL. And when they go to that URL, it's fully branded in Main Training's branding, and also branded for them specifically for their course. So if my course I had built was for ABC Construction, for instance, it would go to the Main Training school, and ABC Construction would have their own unique URL that would take them to their own private course that nobody else can see. And that's why you need to be aware of what all these different platforms can do, because obviously it considerably affects the way that your business comes across from a professional point of view. So they are just 7 key points, so there's a bit more than that, as to the things you must consider when it comes to building your school and selling your courses online. There are a lot more questions that you need to clarify before you get stuck into putting your work onto these platforms. But my overall advice is that if you're not using these platforms, then you are leaving good money on the table. I would say to you to use all of them because they all have their pros and cons. Make sure you're aware of all of the pros and cons, risks and benefits for each one, and make sure that you're adjusting your content and your strategies accordingly to not only give you the best value to your customers and the best experience to your customers, but also so that you actually generate the maximum income, exposure and returns for your particular business growth. All of these things are really important, and certainly the public platforms have fantastic support desks that have loads of information, advice and guidance as well. Please feel free to write in the discussion panel if you have any other questions. I'm very happy to answer those. If you've got any specific questions about choosing a platform, pop it down in the discussion area and we can have a chat about those. But these are the main ones that you really need to be aware of, and I hope that has helped.